What about when it comes to, I just like to talk about social entrepreneurship element. So, that's something you're also very passionate about, I presume. And that's how you can get into it. So this is really linking up into one of your passions, right?
Yeah, I mean, a social entrepreneur has two metrics or two things that they're thinking about. And, a regular entrepreneur is trying to maximize the commercial opportunity, maximize profit, make money. A social entrepreneur has a dual aim, or may even have a single non-financial aim, which is to solve a social problem. Solving that social problem may be commercially sustainable, may be a way to do that. There are a lot of sort of hybrid social businesses which have a dual mission of creating social change or solving a social issue, but also making money. And there are some things, like the Gates Foundation, doesn't have a financial motive, it has a pure social motive. And one of the challenges we have in our business is that we think there's a huge problem to be solved, and it's important as an entrepreneur to try to tackle the biggest problem you can identify and define. But it's not clear whether there's a willingness to pay, to Marwan's point, to solve that problem. Is that a market? So you can solve a problem without making it a marketable solution. In some countries, there is a willingness to pay. In this part of the world, we may be too early. Maybe there's culturally no willingness to pay for a solution to get better information. But for my own personal motivation, and I've been funding this mostly with my own resources, is that it didn't really matter to me that much whether there was, it would be nice for it to be financially sustainable so that it can kind of pay its own bills. But if it wasn't financially feasible as a business, at least I think we've made progress, and we will continue to make progress in solving a social problem. And to me personally, and to this venture, that is a good outcome for us. But I cannot go to a traditional risk capital provider and say, hey, listen, if you invest in Goodgate, you're going to get an 80% IRR. This is an awesome business, you're going to get rich doing this. And therefore, I also didn't want to do that, and I actually didn't take any outside money to do this, because I felt like this was kind of a new thing. We're trying to explore how it would work, and I took that risk myself. And you also you have to align the types of investors you have and the type of project you have. Some projects are a 3-year type horizon, some things are a 10-year horizon, like Zawiya. It took them maybe, 7-8 years to really get big, to really take off. Maybe the first 2-3 years were kind of a struggle. So you can't get an investor who wants a quick exit and then expect him to stick around 8 years. So you have to align the patience of the investor, the disposition. Is it financial motivation? Is there a social motivation or some other personal ego motivation? Some people just like to be, co-founders, investors, and things. So you have to align all those pieces. We are structured as a company because in the UAE I cannot set up a non-profit as a foreigner, as a non-Emirati. But we would be sort of what you would call a B Corp in the US. So it's a form of company which is sort of in between a non-profit and a company. That's the idea.
And I mean, how important is it to be sustainable in those kind of activities? So that's the first sort of question. The second question is there a timeline in which you feel that companies can cross so that they get into a safety area? So usually the first year is a difficult year. People that cross that are, crossed a certain path, but then is there another milestone that people need to cross in which they can get to a stable state? How long have you been in this?
I've just been doing this for a year.
For a year, okay.
I don't think there's a clear answer to that, but everyone has to make their own decisions based on their risk tolerance, what they're willing to do, their persistence. I got some very good advice once from Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon. And he's a really wacky guy. He comes up with all kinds of cool ideas. Some of them are crazy, don't work. Some of them are amazing. But his advice to us, as when we were students, I was a business student, he said, as an entrepreneur, you have to know when to stick to your guns and follow through with your idea, and when to change and take advice from others and signals, market signals, or investors telling you, no, you should go to plan B. And the hardest thing is knowing on which issues to stick to your guns and on which issues to change direction. And I think an entrepreneur has to be adaptable to be successful, but it's always a tough decision, a management decision, a business decision to say, no, I really believe in this, but it may take another 5 years, or to say, look, this isn't working, let's pull the plug. or it's not working like this, we got to go a different route. So that's very tricky always.